So let's look at some of the environmental factors. I've covered some of this in a previous video called Why People Offend. So in terms of environmental factors, the one that cannot be overstated, I think is one of the most salient, is having criminogenic peers. So if you grow up in, say, like a gang or surrounded by gangs or even family members who are committing crimes, then you model what you see, right? You think that offending is the norm, your moral boundaries might be a bit warped, or you might feel peer pressure. You might do things like shoplift or get into fights just to look cool, just to fit in with gangs. So, you know, if you lived in the ghettos of America or the favelas of Brazil or like some of the rougher estates in South London, I'm sure that's more likely to happen than other posher, leafier suburbs. Poverty is another big factor. So if you grow up in an area where there are not educational opportunities and, you know, there's very few legitimate ways of making a decent living, then you're going to be more easily primed to turn towards crime. Obviously there are exceptions, I'm talking in a general sense. I suppose just general parental boundaries and parental influences help in terms of socializing people, children, so that they have this kind of moral compass. Other factors, I've mentioned these before from my other patients, are things like being the victim of physical abuse, witnessing domestic violence. So if you're a child and you witness your parents, probably most commonly your father, commit violence regularly, then you model that behavior as a way of like conflict resolution. Or if you're the victim of abuse, you might build up all this like potential anger and frustration that you discharge when you're big enough, and you might feel that it's normal for relationships, romantic, familial, friendships even, to have this power dynamic where somebody has to be the abuser and somebody has to be the victim. And also personality factors. So if you're paranoid, for example, because you grow up in violence, then you're more likely to kind of strike preemptively if somebody looks at you the wrong way, for example. Drugs and substances in general, alcohol included, is also a huge factor. So there's lots of different mechanisms. For example, if you have the opportunity to be a drug dealer because you grow up around gangs, then it's a very attractive way of making a living, especially if you live in a really deprived area where at best you might get minimum wage. Drug dealers can make, you know, thousands of pounds per night or per week. It's a very attractive business model, and especially if you stick to the first rule of drug dealing, which is don't get high if you're in supply, then you can make huge amounts of money if you're careful. Sorry, that's my hamster. Or the other rules of drug dealing, which is no income tax, no VAT, no money backs, no guarantee. And in terms of other types of mechanisms, there's disinhibition. So people who use substances are more likely to be irritable, aggressive, and they don't think through the consequences of their actions. I'm sure many of you watching this have been intoxicated. I'm sure you know what you're talking about, like that time you did that thing with your work colleague. And also addiction. So people who are addicted feel this huge craving. They feel they need to go out and make money. It's no secret to know that heroin addicts, for example, crack addicts, they go around and commit robberies and burglaries, etc., etc. This is all fairly obvious stuff. Hello, cruel world. What you just saw there was a tiny little tantalizing taste, kind of nutty, of a much longer episode. You should go check it out if you're interested. The link will be in the description below. If you're a fan of either true crime or mental illness, or the crossover between the two, then you've got to go and check out my main YouTube channel, A Psych for Sore Minds. My name is Dr. Sohom Das. I'm a consultant forensic psychiatrist. I assess mentally disordered offenders for a living so that you don't have to. My channel covers a whole range, a smorgasbord of topics related to true crime and mental illness. For example, high-profile true crime cases with my own kind of personal psychoanalysis of individuals. I discuss issues related to criminality. I discuss individual diagnoses. I give advice about psychiatric problems. I interview ex-patients. I do a lot. There is something for everybody on my channel, and I implore you to go and check it out. You can even steal some of my ideas, palm them off as your own to impress your friends and impress people at dinner parties. It's all good. I've got your back. Until next time, stay euthymic, check out my channel, and please do not forget, I love you.